Nothing in this universe is more powerful than Jake Sisko's Riz here on Feed Your Please, Vile Visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't addicted to drugs. Flat out. Dead ass. It's just me, a pod baby, your co-host, Peter.
Before we get into this week's episode, Peter, I have to close out potentially a Feed Your Please plotline with you today.
Okay.
That's because I made a mistake after I saw it talked about in our Discord. I watched the first episode of Season 3 of Strange New Worlds, just the first episode.
Or did they release everything up front, or are they doing one a week?
It was I think they released 2 right away, and it's going to be one a week after that. I don't know. I'm not paying for it.
So, Strange New Worlds is caught in this weird lurch of they were greenlit pre-Skydance acquisition. They got to make some of their stuff, and they got their third season was cut short at 4 or 5 episodes or something.
No, that's actually a whole story on its own. The third season is, I will call it full length for modern television, which is 12. They have a 4th season they're shooting now, and a 5th season that was approved, but the 5th season's only 6 episodes. So
damn, that deep in.
Yeah, so they very much look like they're trying to speed run getting things in the books before Skydance takes over, which, this is the merger that never seems to be able to reach completion, probably because of a lot of political circumstances in regards to the Trump administration, which we won't go into. But when we reviewed Strange New World Season 1, we were very positive on it. I was very positive. I think you shared at least a large portion of my positivity, if I recall.
You gushed heavily over Pike, calling him your favorite Starfleet captain.
I sure did.
How's that working out for you?
I loved Season 1 Pike. There's a storyline in that season that is perfect, that frames up who he is, both in lore and a way to tell a very compelling, very different story with him as the captain. Because he's the captain's captain. He's supposed to be like the Chad that, all other captains look up to. He's a legend. He's the name of the highest award Starfleet can offer is got his name on it, right? Mm-hmm. This man's the king, and he's doomed. That's his story, is that he's a doomed man who knows his fate. And the first season is about his reasonable but heroic struggle of coming to terms with that fate while still doing a job that needs doing, and how he uses it to power his capacity to make the decisions that make him the legend he becomes. And it's a beautiful story. He has faults. He takes his eye off the ball a couple times and terrible things happen, or he has to be directed back to the path, like the season finale when they basically redo Balance of Terror, but what if Pike was in charge, and it turns out that's a worse outcome, as a way to teach him, there is a point where you aren't necessarily the answer. And he, because he is the best, can recognize that and say, I have to meet my fiery doom in order to ensure worse things don't happen. That people I care about don't get hurt, and that the galaxy doesn't wind up in flames because I wasn't the right guy at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really had a lot of hope for the show on the basis that they really seem to understand, balancing what we called the masculine and the feminine. That instead of Discovery, which was way overbalanced on the feminine side and had all this unearned emotion and just turned people off on a visceral level because of it, this seemed to figure out a way that was more balanced, where you still kind of were able to appeal to both demos by having, masculine leadership and that sort of feminine element at the same time, and they weren't in competition with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then Season 2, it started falling apart on them. And part of it was because Pike wasn't in the show very much. And that had to do with Anson Mount, being on paternity leave, apparently, for several episodes. So that's why he was written off.
Interesting.
So you had a lot of the side character stuff that seemed to take over the show because he literally wasn't available. And they tried to get back on the path at the end of the season, do more Gorn meta plot. We're going to up the stakes. We're going to make this epic sci-fi again. Put Pike back in the position where he's got to solve big problems. And this Season 3 premiere, which is just the follow-up to that finale, they have I don't know if they took a bunch of fucking Discovery writer refugees after that show finally got canned, and that's what happened or what, but it is so immediate, it's come off a cliff in terms of its writing ability, and it was already kind of on the decline.
The show that you watched, would you say it was worse or better than the musical?
It offended me more than the musical because at least I could excuse the musical as a goofy comedy episode. This was worse because it was trying to take itself seriously, and they reduced Pike. This was what was described in the Discord, and it is underselling it. They reduce him to a panic attack having emotional basket case that cannot handle the consequences of the actions that essentially others eventually have to take on his behalf, and he has to be coddled by everyone else. And sure as shit, you have your strong female characters all capitalized take over all of the decision points, up to and including his girlfriend, who's like a side character. And it's such a fucking change from season 1 of this guy who's really got it dialed in and is dealing with something like no one else could possibly deal with in a constructive fashion, and demonstrates his heroic emotional and ethical resolve that he's able to, and then he just turns and he just disintegrates in a moment of crisis such that everybody else has to solve the problems for him. And I'm never going to pick the show back up again. You've ruined the one thing you had going. You had a great actor playing a great captain. You had this balance struck, and now you have thrown it in the garbage so you could do soy millennial slop writing. I can't get it. I don't fucking understand why they do this. Who is this for?
The modern audience, Joe. How long ago did they film this?
A while. That's what's wild.
It's
it
not
feels like some shit from 2 years ago. Yeah.
Hey, we know that the end is coming here, so people are abandoning the ship, and we're not working with our A-team writers, and we're telling stories that aren't popular, but that's what's been able to slip through because this is no longer a feasible long-term property. If they're in season 3 and they've got runway out to season 5, I'm curious at what point Discovery writer room closed, and if that intersects the time period when these scripts are being made. I overall enjoyed season 2 of Strange New Worlds, but I'll tell you, I'm not hurting for things to watch right now. We're going through watching Veep.
Oh, that's just fucking delight. It's over so quickly.
Yeah. Well, we're fucking tearing through them. I've got a couple.
It's like 7 seasons, but they're not big seasons, and you're like, fuck.
Hey, man, there's really something to the half-hour comedy format of just junk food, basically.
And the great thing about Veep is it was made before Kamala Harris was vice president, and so it's like the most unintentional comedy in the world that they just foresaw this person existing in real life without knowing that they were.
Mm.
And they don't ever look away from the bit, to the credit of the show. They stick with that bit the whole way, that she is just actually the worst person in the world.
So, I mean, there's all this TV out there. I don't know I can't even tell you what we're watching that's really current, but especially in summer, I'm not hurting for things to watch. So I don't think I'm going to queue up Strange New Worlds if you're saying it's this bad out of the gate. Why go through that? Maybe if people get in deeper, they really turned the season around, but
I will allow our Discord to tell me if it becomes worth watching after that first episode. Aside from Scotty, who's has a doohickey, a technological gizmo that saves the day, it really is the very much the trope of the strong female protagonist must save the day for the weak and incapable men. And I guess I'm over it now. I can't handle that anymore. I can't deal with that being so obvious as a sort of pseudo-political statement within your plot. I'm watching a show right now that actually has genuinely strong female characters in it.
That's the hard part.
And then that's the hard part. I see the version of this that's good, where Kira Nerys as amazing, right? That's actually somebody who's a strong female character in a fashion that works within a story, not as a political statement.
People use the term punching down. You can have all of your characters look good on screen at the same time. Next Generation showed us that.
Yeah.
Season 1 of Strange New Worlds showed us that. Deep Space Nine is showing us that. And I think when you have a incompetent writer that doesn't realize that, and they say, I need to make someone look bad so I can because I think that's going to make everyone else look better. That's a stupid take, and you end up just making your show look bad.
The glory of Star Trek shows is typically that the captain is a character that all of the other characters rally around as a leader, right? And when the show's at its best, it's when figures like Picard or Sisko or even Janeway, in the best moments, is able to make everyone believe in them, right? And they find purpose or ability that not otherwise possess as a consequence. In this case, Pike was set up in the first season to be exactly that, for not just his crew, but everyone that would follow in the chair after him. And they've pissed it away. They've just discarded that premise so utterly and so entirely that it hurts me, because I really wanted to believe that they had figured that out, and it turns out they didn't.
I'm going to be very curious to see what happens if Skydance wins Sky. Because if Skydance doesn't get this thing, I can foresee a world where just Paramount falls apart. Their debt situation's so bad.
Yeah, no, it's going to happen. I think it's going to go down to the wire, and Trump's going to make them bleed. Which I don't want to get into the politics of it, but I suspect that we're near the end of all of this, which is why they're speedrunning this. It's why they're desperate to get out some material for the Starfleet Academy show before it's too late.
I think that's all.
It's about to happen. Yeah.
I think all this stuff's going to get thrown down in oubliette, where no one's going to see any residuals, and this stuff's not going to see additional airtime. And I think Skydance, if they get in, is going to say, take all the Kurtzman, Abrams stuff, and we don't care about it anymore, and we're going to try to make some money with this bitch, and we're going to go back to the 24th century.
I guarantee you're correct. Well, speaking of that 24th century, Peter.
Speaking of it, some big things going on.
Absolutely.
Season 3, Episode 6, The Abandon, first aired October 31st, 1994. Written by D. Thomas Mayo and Steve Warnock. I don't know either of those people. Directed by Avery Brooks. I do know him.
This is the only script that these two guys wrote, apparently, in all of Star Trek.
Maybe they're fans doing a mail-in submission.
Only contribution to television, apparently. Nice one-off, boys. So
they just wanted to prove they could. That's all.
There's so much I want to say about the amazing acting in this episode. I think Avery Brooks as a director definitely has a style, and I think we're going to be able to talk about what that style is. I think the A-plot to this episode has tremendous amount of... It's a great Star Trek episode, but it's a great Deep Space Nine episode because of what the arc is and how it's handled. But before we talk about any of that, we have to talk about the real A-plus plot in this episode, and that is the fact that Jake Sisko is out here bagging Alpha Quadrant Eights. Okay, let us not bury the lead. This episode is about how Riker, stand aside. Jake Sisko has entered the chat as the real Casanova of the Milky Way galaxy. The fact that he nails this Dabo girl is crazy to me.
Crazy's a good word to invoke. Is the fact that he landed her crazy, or is she just crazy? Again, we're looking at the age split here of a 20-year-old, quote unquote, with a 16-year-old. I forget, what did we say Google said the age of consent was on Bajor?
Oh, tragically low.
Yeah, I think it was like 14, 15 range. So
yeah, it was something where we said maybe the Cardassians invaded to stop child sex exploitation.
We said maybe they took over the Philippines for
secret hero.
Or maybe they're there to cash in on a bad situation.
Ooh,
they are bad guys, Joe.
They are. It's true.
You brought it up. And I was not prepared for what I saw.
Yeah.
This was the Blue Moon. What's a Blue Moon episode where my wife was actually down there to watch this with me.
Oh, my.
So she had a lot of big questions.
There is a shot at the end of the episode when Marta and Jake are walking through the promenade. And Sherlock Lofton is staring directly into this girl's rack.
We all were, Joe. We all were.
His eyes are buried in her titties. Just cannot get off it. And it's like, what casting person was like, yo, we got to find somebody to play the girlfriend of our young male lead character, right? We've got the 16-year-old main character's the son of the commander. He's got a girlfriend who's a little bit older than him, and they fucking come up with this girl. And it's like, it's no wonder they're like, maybe we shouldn't do this again. You never see her again, unfortunately.
This is her one and done?
One and done.
Good charisma on her.
Oh, yeah. But she just reads so much of older. And it's like, what's going on? What's happening? Does she secretly just want to get close to the emissary of the prophets? Is this a religious thing secretly? Are we going to have like an assassination plot? Like, this makes no sense. Or is Jake really that charismatic? Does he just have this much game?
He's got that much game is the answer, because it's not her interest in him that ends up driving this plot. It's her opening the door to Sisko to realize that there's a lot more to his son than Sisko has realized.
Yeah, jokes aside, that is what the plot is about. And it's a great subplot to put into this episode when he is directing too, Avery Brooks. He gave himself good material to work with, and we don't often see the director being in a lot of the episode. And this is a bit of a change in that, the B plot is heavily focused on him dealing with Jake, and that his son is growing up into a man right before him.
Was it Avery Brooks who created this booby situation? Is that why she doesn't get to come back around? Is that the producers are like, man, this is not a good look. Get rid of her and get Avery in here. We need to have a conversation. This can never happen again.
Apparently this was the second choice, because the first choice, who we'll actually see cast as a Dabo girl in short order, was even more like out of Jake's league.
Was that going to be Lita?
Yeah, so we're going to meet Lita here, I think, actually this season, if I recall correctly. She becomes a more recurring character down the road. But the actress that plays Lita actually tried out for this role, and she's even a little bit older. she read as a little bit too much of a predator, given the age difference between them, so they saved her for later.
So let's just talk about this entire plot line, because these are pretty stark contrasts here. Jake's got a girlfriend that Ben has known about for a while, and at some point Ben told his son, hey, you should invite her over for dinner. And if you don't,
season 2. Yeah.
Then I am. And Jake didn't, so Ben did. And we see the Dabo table in action as some guy who's winning big gets lured back into shallow waters by the siren, and before he knows it, his Latin-impressed vessel has been dashed upon her rocks.
Indeed, her very prominent rocks.
He is broken to Quark's delight. The jig is up. She wanders away from the table. He goes to shoot his shot and quickly finds out that it was all just business after all. And apparently the first rule of Dabo is you keep your eyes on the table and not on the Dabo girl.
Marta is good at her job. Sucked him in for one more spin and got it all. And Jake even appreciates it. Like, that was savage.
I think he called her evil.
Yes. And by the way, it is clear they have a physical relationship, right? Like, they are touching each other. They're like, there's a moment where they're about to kiss, and then Ben walks in. Like, the off-camera vibe is these two, it's there. And to this credit of Sherlock Lofton, he kind of looks like a gangly Steve Urkel, right? Like he's not fully kind of looking like a man yet, because he's in that in-between period, but he is attempting to carry forward, like, I am trying to become one, right? And it works on the screen pretty effectively.
Something interesting happened. We started watching, and the initial, I don't know, maybe it was the low-cut dress that grabbed my wife's attention, like, what the fuck are you watching? But she said, what's wrong with this lady? And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, is she supposed to be an alien? Because all she has is that little bit of stuff on her nose. What's going on with her? Is she just, like, Is she like a human that they engineered or something? And I was like, well, what an interesting question to ask, because it's the whole
Yeah.
conversation topic we had of these Bajorans are aliens that are not really alien. And I think that this episode does absolutely nothing to change my opinion on that. This is a 10 out of 10 on every part of this story is human. There is no alien difference expressed whatsoever here at all. And in fact, with Marta, the only part of her that if you had your eyes closed, you would have any reason to believe that she was not a human is her tragic story of my parents died. It was just me and my brothers and sisters. And then I became a OnlyFans poker girl. They objected, and I don't talk to them anymore. It's a very sad story, really, right?
It is.
It's a family that was destroyed, and it was a family that, you know, nobody has anything of real emotional stability. She's clinging on to a 16-year-old because she has destroyed her family relations out of desperation to try to get out of the allegedly war-torn ravages of Bajor.
Right, the place that is both terrible and beautiful. Azeroth has no consistency in its characterization, unfortunately, which takes away from a bit of the continuity that we otherwise enjoy in the show. I think the impression they want to give is that it's like a post World War II Europe. You know, everything's bombed out, and while things are recovering, it's still not a good place to be. And so there's a pseudo desperation on the part of people to find opportunity, and that Marta.
I'm telling you, man,
You know,
the weakest shit, this fucking Bajoran economy of woe is such a disservice to the show, in stark contrast to the beautiful Southern California filming locations used. Because I think if they actually put their ass into like finding some ratty ass bombed out looking areas, or built some convincing looking battle damage sets, that you could feel this struggle more.
yeah.
But it all comes off as so disingenuous.
Whenever we see Bajor, it seems very nice. So what is this that they're talking about? They never sell it to you correctly. And so I can, you know, my suspension of disbelief can carry far enough that I can see the story that Marta represents of, yeah, like she's 20, but she's also like completely arrested in her development because her parents died. She was raised by dispassionate neighbors, and you know she has distant siblings that, you know, decided to break ties with her because she was taking advantage of the fact she's got, you know, an amazing rack to collect some cash at Quark's. And now, you know, she doesn't have anything. And there's this charming young man who's come in that she identifies with because she's probably emotionally closer to him in age than her physical age. I get it all. I get where they're going with it. And that Jake isn't being taken advantage of, and also is more mature than her, as his own father actually recognizes, up to and including being a pool shark, apparently.
I think there could have been a good longer term story with her. It's too bad they sabotaged themselves by picking an actress that was inappropriate on screen for the story they were trying to tell, because
she was just a little younger. If she just read a little younger, this could have worked, I think, long term. I think this, when they finally put this one to bed, they're like, that's just too much. We're going to get accusations we don't want.
But I mean, what a great plot line that would have been for him as a civilian storyline on the station to interact with the civilian storyline of this war-torn, deeply damaged culture, to really express like what kind of deep-seated problems the occupation created and the hardships that the Bajoran youth are going to have to overcome and try to find some thread of normalcy, and to, you know, sell her off as a damaged person to the audience that, you know, eventually there will be a redemption arc from. And I also, you know, it didn't dawn on me, like, there is the space prophet to your gods, and he's working up at the gas station that used to be an orbit that was the symbol of oppression, that he has now turned into, I would say, a place worthy of a pilgrimage, right? If you know that your space Jesus is up there, like
next to your space gods, no less.
Yeah, like what? Oh, Andy's got a son that's kind of a pimp. Like, what a great way to get access to your prophet is through the son, and like stories.
And also, like, the fact that she is a lowly person in terms of social status, and she rises to the position of being someone that is close to the literal, Messiah
Sitting at
figure
the
with,
dinner table with him.
sitting at the
Invited to
dinner
the
table.
dinner table with.
There's a biblical allegory there that you could easily have exploited if you had chosen to go that direction. They don't, obviously, but it's a lot missed opportunity, I think.
It's not a missed opportunity though. Like the tragedy of DS9 is that there's so much stuff.
It's like, is it missed when there's so much other things going on that are also cool?
I mean, it's exactly what you said about whatever the Sisko Romulan character was. Like, that could have been a really great character, but she had other stuff to do, and they desperately needed great characters in other places. This plot, my son is dating a Blackjack girl, could have been an entire season worth of content for Voyager or Enterprise.
It's true. There's enough here you could have filled in so much.
What this is a conversation I want to have maybe in the series rip, but like, what was the skeleton? Like, what was in its barest form the platform or the hook that opened so many doors for Deep Space Nine? Like, obviously they had a great writing room, but was there something about the foundation of the show itself that just opened all of these doors?
This might be a thing that the What You Leave Behind documentary could potentially tell us, right? And I look forward to watching that after we've finished all of the show to maybe answer that question. I have my theories. I think it's that this is the alchemy of a bunch of people who decided to put their best effort into what they were doing. And whenever you have that, like we were talking about this with Second Skin, that is a tough ask to get all of your actors to act like what they're doing is so deadly serious that your people watching it can invest themselves in it and believe it. When you're in all of that makeup and you're using this technobabble and it's all this made up fantasy world, and yet it did not feel that way, did it? It felt real. It felt like the real trauma of a father dealing with what he thought was a daughter that didn't remember him, that was saying the most hurtful things, all tied up in this totalitarian Byzantine circumstance as it relates to the politics of clandestine operations and this sort of pseudo-fascistic oligarchy that runs the society. All of that was there, right? They managed to make all of that work. Why? Because they fucking believed in it enough to make you believe it was working. In the same episode, this is the thing that works about everything in this episode, right? We constantly praise all the Sisko Jake stuff as extremely authentic and real, fantastic scenes because the actors is closer to where they are, right? Like it's the Janeway effect. Janeway was best when she was able to tap into her Ryan's Hope head and not have to work through too much sci-fi to bring drama to the screen. Family stuff between a father and son, that's something that everyone can find a way to relate to.
It's accessible.
Very accessible. But yet, what's the other plot here? The other plot is wild alien bullshit. And yet, it's just as identifiable. It's just as present. It's just as accessible, and it's because the people who are delivering these performances believe in what they're doing, and they will make you believe it through sheer force of effort. And that goes to the actors, it goes to the writers, it goes to the director, and Avery Brooks in this case, I think does a fantastic job of framing the story in a way that connects two plots that otherwise feel like they fit well together in a fashion that does, because it's about a story about coming to adulthood, about coming to maturation, in one way, and then in another way. There's even a linkage between when Sisko's holding the baby Jem'Hadar and then talks about like his own son growing up and the ease of fatherhood when he was young and the challenges of it now, and then transitions kind of into that plot. Like it's not one thing. It's a million things. And it all happens because everyone involved wants it to.
That's part of it. I think deeper into the why though, Rick Berman, I remember an interview where Rick Berman says Ronald Moore said that, Rick Berman's like, Star Trek is a show about people. And Ronald Moore's like, really? Because, it seems to me like it's about spaceships and space wars and stuff, which I think both sides are right. I think TNG contrasted with DS9, we were talking before about when the Defiant gets rolled out, like the willingness for the guys on screen in Deep Space Nine to say Galaxy class, to talk about the nerdy stuff that you and I like. The fan-driven attention to detail was not there, and I think was avoided in a lot of ways in Next Generation because they were focusing on a higher level story, just about people interacting with each other and overtaking something. DS9 is much more in the gritty nitty, but it's still very much there as expressed through stuff like this. So you're telling stories about people. TNG, you were telling stories about people that were the best of the best on this Federation flagship where everybody followed the rules and did the good thing. And you get a little bit of access to the bad guy or the other guy as guest stars for whatever the story was going to be that day. DS9, the ensemble cast, you're telling a story about people, and it's not just the Federation and Starfleet people because of their proximity to the civilian populations, the non-Starfleet military people, the Ferengi, family members. You can tell so many more people stories. You can tell the story about my daughter is dating the Blackjack girl that would be impossible to tell in literally every other piece of Berman media.
I think it's also a valid point. I think maybe it's both of what we're saying ultimately. People putting in high effort, opportunity being significantly different, and then a combination of people who are good at not only telling the stories, but understanding that adding the depth of the world itself in layers. And it's just like it creates this tapestry that just envelops you at every level.
And go back to what you're saying, like, okay, Ryan's Hope and Janeway, the only way that Voyager could tell these melodramatic stories was really through the holodeck, right? That's the only way that you could access to non-Starfleet people or mind wipes. But again, those were just one-offs because everybody get their memories back.
Correct.
So if you wanted to tell a story with a civilian population, it had to happen with holographic characters that were going to be one and dones. Again, you have this huge civilian presence on Deep Space Nine. It's this well of other characters that are not space military people, that are Hollywood actors that know how to tell low-level drama, that can walk into these roles with full investment because it's accessible. And you can put that on the screen nonstop. So that Star Trek does good when it's just people talk in a room. You've got a lot of people that are not going to have to ever touch technobabble because they're Dabo girls and bartenders and botanists. And they are interacting heavily with your military people. I think that's really how they set themselves up for slam dunks here. It's just diversity.
I would like your permission to prove your point. I would like your permission to spoil a small thing for the future. Because it's something you already said. The show is self-aware enough, and maybe you're just prescient enough. Something you said a few minutes ago about like what the story that you could have told through Jake about like war-torn, consequences on Bajor. They literally figure out that that's what they should do. And Jake's future is that he becomes a reporter and war correspondent during the Dominion War. That's what he does. All right. Like they actually do kind of figure this out in real time. The very kind of concepts you're talking about. And as the show matures, I mean, I think this episode's a perfect example of like Deep Space Nine has now hit its stride, right? Like that those early seasons where things were awkward are over. These actors know what these characters are. There is a jet stream that they're in, and they're not getting out of it, right? They know what they're up to now. And that doesn't mean that they don't eventually figure things out, like what you just said of, wait, is there an opportunity for us to use Jake as our avenue by which we can actually show the civilian consequences of war by making him a journalist that's what his beat is basically. And they do that. So they have to find something to do with him to make it still on the station, right? Like otherwise it doesn't make sense why a civilian would, still be hanging out.
Why the commander would tolerate his son being in the line of fire. Yeah.
Correct. And so it is that the show's also the people making it are self-aware enough to tap deep into their own, material at the right time and figure out these lines that you yourself just pointed out were available to them. So, well, let's get back to the episode, right? So,
something
there isn't
important
much.
does happen at Quark's, and it's just as we're watching Jake flirt with his very capable girlfriend, along comes Bird Lady.
Yes, Bird Lady from season 1 suddenly flapping back in and immediately touching Quark's ear. So we know what this is about.
What's his name? Lee Alice?
Lean Alice? Yeah.
This is the lady that's basically responsible for the liberation of the greatest. This lady's important as fuck, man. Like, what a linchpin.
Yeah. She showed up 3 times, and each time it's mattered.
Is she a Q?
She unfortunately does not have a name spoken on screen. They gave her a name afterwards of Rianoj.
But I mean, if you were to tell me that this lady is actually a Q or some other meddling, sculpting watchman type person that is looking out for the Federation's best interest, or the if she is, maybe she's an employee of the Prophets, Joe, because first
apparently whatever with their employees apparently bang Quark out, because I love that she just immediately is like, I'm just going to start jacking your ear off. I'm going to make you want it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to buy my trash, right? I just want to dump my trash and I want you to buy it. I don't want to. Well, what if we bang? And then cut to him going to the cargo bay being like, I bought all this trash for 3 bars of latinum. And he just goes, it was worth it.
We do know the Prophets are very horny based on the quality and grade of I'm sorry, what do we call them? Tier events?
Oh yeah, the Tears of the Prophets horny dreams, yeah.
No, what would you say the official term is for those?
A orb experience.
Orb experiences.
Yes.
Paid content. OEs as they're called on the internet.
I'm really happy we can maintain the continuity that Quark fucks. Like constantly.
I don't think you can deny it at this point.
No, absolutely not.
She's like, hey, last time I gave you for free an earring that led to this massive political prisoner being saved in this Federation Black Ops joint thing with Kira Nerys, the terrorist. And as a byproduct, you guys were able to repel the Bajoran government coup, military coup.
Yeah.
This time, though, I need some money. I got a great opportunity. Here is this ship. I love how she does it under the gun, too. Like, doesn't let him see it.
Yeah.
Just buy this fucking
buy my
thing.
Trash. Buy my storage unit.
Bars of Latinum is 3 commodity values up, right? Like, because it's strips, something, and then bars, right?
So the comparative values is 100 slips is a strip, 20 strips is a bar. So this is 2 up from slips. So this is approximately 60 strips or 300 slips of latinum.
What did we say that Quark gave Pell when she left? Was it 10 bars of latinum?
It was a significant amount, yeah.
Did he give her more than a junked ship?
Yes, 10 bars. I just looked it up. Quark offered Pell 10 bars of latinum to help start a new life.
Wow.
Quite a gift.
Wow. He hooked her up. They bang out. He goes to survey it. There is some very unsafe pallet stacking that I'm seeing going on in the corner where they have pallets of material sitting on top of anti-Klingon barrels. So it's no surprise to me that this place is an absolute mess. But while he's poking around, he starts hearing what I quickly recognized as a baby crying. And he opens up this alien's egg style 4-corner splitting apart thing and looks in, and there's no sympathy. There's only oh no's.
Yeah, like, oh God, I'm about to get in so much trouble for buying a baby.
And he opened that up, and I'm like...
Because he was purposefully saying, like, now's not a good time for me to be involved in anything that could be illegal. You know, my wanted stars are still flashing from hitting the pay and spray. You know,
sure are.
I need some time for the stank to be off me from my last round of felonies, and she's like, oh, fuck. I don't need to be involved in crime right now. So we cut back to the infirmary, and Bashir is of course, checking on this baby that Quark found. Sisko lays down his patent. Do you really want to say anything that is going to make me sad stare at Quark? Get him to basically sacrifice his rights to his salvage in exchange for those wanted stars to finally roll off. But they have quite a conundrum on their hands. They don't know what this kid is. They are unfamiliar with his physiology. And Bashir notes immediately, like, I love the technobabble of the medical stuff in this episode, especially the first half, because it all kind of makes a certain amount of logical sense. The way he talks about, I don't know what he is, but I know, biological science and humanoids, and therefore I know he's been genetically engineered, because the way things are working in his body can't happen naturally. That's not how humanoid physiology works in any species. In the way he's able to bridge that gap and explain that to the audience in a fashion that makes sense and not like drown you in too much like nonsense words, it was actually quite an effective way to pattern those scenes.
I'd like to have a bigger conversation at some point, not now, comparing Bashir to the other doctors, because it was a conversation we went pretty deep with on EMH and then Phlox, and I think we need to revisit that in light of the way that he's been conducting himself.
It's another also spot where retroactive continuity of him being genetically engineered makes sense, because he just has this familiarity with identifying genetic engineering suddenly. Like, that's something he really knows something about.
Interesting hobby. You minored on
How
that.
do you know? Like, you're just really good at identifying that, huh? How strange.
That's how interesting. I mean, this is a classic sci-fi story here, right?
Classic Star Trek story. A foundling of a race unknown. What do we do?
A genetically engineered product that is hyper-aging. And it goes deeper than that very quickly, because a couple scenes later, they go in and, oh, surprise, I can talk. There is some sort of innate programming that is building in a cognitive function. Like, this is this is almost magic. These are like basically, and I guess the right analogy to draw here is like token level orcs, right?
That's precisely, I think, what the script is trying to say. A couple things about Avery Brooks as a director. One, this man knows how to do a camera move. He's got a couple great examples. There's that scene at the end when Jake and Marta are walking. Jake's eyes are buried in her titties, and they like pan up to where Sisko and O'Brien are talking, and then they pan back down to the Replimat. Jake and Marta sit down and then focus on the conversation with Kira and Odo. Just he's got the dolly move shit got down. And there's another one in here when they do the big reveal that he's grown up and he's talking, and rotate the camera around in a way to sort of add to the dramatic reveal. And second, the way that this serves as a fashion by which the Federation starts to understand what the fuck the Jem'Hadar actually are is apparently the way that Brooks decided to frame it, because he didn't write it, he just directed it, was, and I'm pointing it out because this isn't the Memory Alpha, and this is stuff that he brings to the table when he's a director, which is not uncommon. I'm just going to read his quote. For me, it was very much a story about a young brown man and, to some extent, a story about a society that is responsible for the creation of a generation of young men who are feared, who are addicted, and who are potential killers. So,
there's a fucking take.
And I get it. I get, like, he's literally addicted to drugs. You opened with that joke, right? Like, he's dead set on violence no matter what it is that they tried to introduce to him as an option to take a different option. And they're all flummoxed by, like, is there a way to actually deprogram? Like, at what point does nature versus nurture have any sort of purchase on the situation? And they ultimately actually arrive at the fact that it was hopeless. That's what the episode says, is there's no fixing the Jem'Hadar. They are what they were built to be. And unfortunately, they were built to be that by a bunch of people, as Odo says. They're not cold-blooded. They just don't have any blood at all. I like it. It makes the founders seem really bad.
I'm curious how much of this factors into the Combine and Half-Life. There's a
Interesting. Because that would
there's
come
a
after this. Yeah.
there's a lot of overlap between the Dominion and the Combine in my head, because there is a dominant conquering species that is in charge, and that it does not do its own dirty work. It incorporates other things into its entity and then repurposes them, and those become the tools that it inflicts terror with.
Kind of like the Reapers from Mass Effect.
That
Like
as well.
the harvesters, are like they're
Sure.
dirty boys.
And they were the Prometheans, and I'm curious if that's going to be a part of the story. Is like, was the Jem'Hadar the worst enemy of the Changelings? Is that the ones that pushed them over the edge to be like, we can't be nice, we have to be brutal because this is a brutal galaxy, and we are going to not stop, and we're going to take the people that were our greatest threat and turn them into the sword that we wield against other people? Or did the Jem'Hadar, great story opportunities here, were the Jem'Hadar a peaceful, nice species that had an easy to manipulate genetic code that the Changelings were like, cool, we're going to reprogram these guys to be murder machines? They used to be nice, artsy people, and they're easy to manipulate. Now we're going to make them this. Or were they like already a violent race that they were able to subdue and domesticate for their attack dogs?
And right now in the plot, this is a mystery to our characters, right? They don't know. This is the first time they've actually been able to actually know anything about the Jem'Hadar on a specific level. Like, this is where they find out about Ketracel White, right? Like, this is these are genetically engineered super soldiers addicted to a drug that only, like, as Odo lays out, like, this all makes logical sense. Build super soldiers, make them dependent on an unreplicable drug that only I can give them. This will, not only do I breed loyalty into their genetic code, I present loyalty as a necessity for their continued existence to fulfill the obligation for which they are programmed. It is such a perfect creation for the purpose of terrorizing the galaxy, which is what they are. What did that guy say during the search? Then they called the Jem'Hadar, and then you die. So to them, they're analyzing the circumstance through the lens of, this is all new to us, and the founders seem like they are real villains, and the person who gets a face first of that is Odo, the person who is technically a member of that same species, who has no relationship to the founders, really. He's become a person in his own way, and he's essentially incapable or unable to think like them. He thinks like a human, and he doesn't even understand that that's what's happened until the fucking Jem'Hadar kid points it out to him.
I'm going to call out real quick. So this is 1994. This was made.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park came out in 1993. Genetic engineering, playing God. I think all that stuff really had to be in the forefront of...
Yeah, Dolly the sheep. It was all in the real world,
Dolly
too.
the sheep. When was Island of Dr. Moreau?
Well, that's a book, isn't it?
I know, but it doesn't matter until it becomes a movie and it puts it on the map. Anyways, a core feature in Jurassic Park on the genetically engineered dinosaurs was the lysine contingency, which all the other fucking movies
ignore.
I fucking, dude, I heard this most recent Jurassic World just got shit on so hard. Like, good God. Well, I saw the picture, and it's the engineer, the architect from The Matrix, and he's standing there talking to Neo, and he's like, this is the 5th time we've made a Jurassic Park movie that sucks. Each time we make it, it's worse than the last time. We've become very good at what we've done. And it's like, you have. But the whole thing was supposed to be that if the dinosaurs ever did escape Isla Nublar, that they would all die because they can't produce this enzyme that they need to survive. Here it is. In the Jem'Hadar, you've got these genetically engineered monsters that have a programmed dependency, so they cannot slip their leash or there will be dire consequences. Great decision just to have some of this Ketracel White, which I don't think is actually named.
It is not it's not named Ketracel White yet, but that is what it is. The way it's revealed, and then it's like in this container, There's like a bunch of different vials to it too. Is like something like, I like the way that scene is shot too, where they pull it out and Odo starts talking about like, I'm starting to understand what happened here. Reckon with what my people have done, and this is a creation of theirs and the purpose behind it. This episode's really about Odo. It's made clear about halfway through the episode that this Jem'Hadar kid has an inborn subservience to him because he recognizes him as a changeling, as a founder. And therefore, he kind of has to follow his commands. And they show that very explicitly in that Odo, in his own way, tells him to do things, and he just always follows the command, even though Odo is being very polite in how he's phrasing it. He seems like unable to act against his will.
Do we need to go into the Ice-T seen some shit jokes on this one? For what the founders have done to the Jem'Hadar? They make these kids dress and act like robots, dressing them up so bad they think they're from the future. Teach the kids to play RPGs. They get them learning math and socializing. Then they replace a few of their dice with ones from the opposite size that they don't add up. What's a toilet brittle quote? I love all of this. And I love the fact that, there's this personal thread that Odo has because he's not a pure founder. He is also a product of genetic engineering. He has also had his fate manipulated, and it gives Odo a double threat on why he cares about this kid. I grew up in a lab, and now I see they want to send you to a lab, and I know exactly what's going to happen here. You and I were kindred souls. And that's kind of a hard realization that I don't really think they explore by the end, but it's on the table of you and I should have been spiritual brothers. We have these two shared points. We didn't know our past. I believe we've both been engineered. We both are strangers in a strange land. And in the end, they're absolutely not the same because his people are so terrible that they have made this guy irrevocably unable to pick any other fate than what he was programmed or determined to want. Whereas Odo has an abundance of choice and has been able to pick this different life.
The way that they frame like Odo, he has quarters now. He's got like shapes and things that he's practicing being a shapeshifter in. First person he ever invites in is Kira. I do love the continued I forgot how long they spend slowly building up the relationship between these two, by the way. Because it takes a long time for this to pay off. There's lots of ups and downs. In the fact that they've become very clear, intimate friends, such that Odo has allowed Kira and Kira alone into his quarters, gives him a gift, and she puts the flowers in his old bucket that she gives him, like where he used to spend all of his time.
It's his heart.
It's like all of that's there, and in a way, it makes Odo's attempts to do everything he can to reach this Jem'Hadar kid to try and see if like there is a piece of him that has the capacity for choice to reject this impulse, up to and including saying like, I am going to throw it all on the line and tell you that if you tell me right now that you are willing to do something other than go back to the Jem'Hadar and murder people, that I will sacrifice everything in my existence to go explore that with you. And he still says no. It's a great escalation, right? Like, okay, maybe you just need a mentor. Okay, maybe you just need structure so that you can get your violent impulses out in the holosuite, and then you have to be, controlled amongst everyone else. And he keeps going through this process, and it's Kira, obviously, that comes in at a certain point and tries to real talk, both in the wardroom and then in the corridors of Quarks, to say, this is going to fail. I know what this is because I've seen things that you haven't seen, have experienced life in a way that you haven't. He is built to be what he is, and you are not changing it. And Odo, who is malleable in every possible way, cannot see that until he experiences it for himself. And I love that the episode closes with him making a point, going to Kira and saying, you were correct. You were right. I have learned something from this. You were correct.
I got got.
I let
myself get got.
It's very human of Odo, which is what the fucking Jem'Hadar kid points out to him, to say, like, I don't know what other changelings are like, but they're not like you. Like, you being around these humans has fucking changed you, and I know that on a genetic level. I recognize that you are less
You know what else he knows on a genetic level? How to turn invisible. This guy's kind of like reptilian. Like, he starts off, he looks real like smooth and human baby like, with just minimal shit on his face. And by the time he develops to the end, he's got this real lizard looking dinosaur quality to him, right?
Yeah, like it spreads from the initial spot and like covers him in like this exoskeleton almost.
Which again makes me wonder if this used to be a soft race with a very malleable genetic code that they've exploited and really just turned into something radically different than what they were ever supposed to be. Again, very Reaper-like from where the Prometheans started in Mass Effect. He's lizardish. He's from the Gamma Quadrant. He can turn invisible. Is he? Are the Jem'Hadar like the same species as the most dangerous game turtle guy? What was his name? Tosk.
Yes. Well, because we called him Bosk all the time because he kind of looked
Tosk.
like it. But I think it was Tosk, yeah.
But I mean, they could turn invisible, right?
And they don't really have an opportunity to investigate this because by the time he's turning invisible is when it's like, it's violence time.
Not only does he turn invisible, his clothes turn invisible, which we know is, being D&D nerds, devil's in the details on this stuff.
It's true.
The Odo jungle gym room was interesting. These are not traditional quarters. He has turned this thing into basically a kid's, what was it called? Discovery Zone.
Yes, he has. Where he just kind of like oozes around on things and does textures and stuff. It's like, actually kind of get where that would be fun for you. Like, yeah.
This is something that he's been keyed on to by female change. No, what do we call her? Debbie?
The female changeling, yes.
No, it was Debbie Doppelpopoulos.
Debbie Doppelpopoulos.
Queen of the Changelings, Debbie Doppelpopoulos. She's Greek. She was like, hey, chill out in this arboretum and try to be the rock and try to be the tree and try to be the shrub. And he's like, this is bullshit. What do you got me doing? It's interesting to see him latch onto that and find a value to the point where he has asked for quarters and he has set up his own arboretum to play these games after having been directly confronted and in the process of being exposed to the monstrosity of these changelings, being like, these guys fucking suck, man. Look how bad they messed this guy up. Look at the atrocities they're committing. But you know what? Maybe they're not all bad. Maybe I'm going to give some of these meditation exercises a shot and better understand who I am as a person. I'd be like, fuck, man. If sticking around as a rock in a tree on a long enough timeline leads me to believing that hijacking species and genetically engineering them into slavery is okay, like, maybe just stick to your bucket. Maybe
this road is leading to a dark place. You shouldn't travel it.
The road to hell is paved with being a tree and a rock.
Apparently Sesame Street.
Stick to your bucket and stick to the budget. Do as little shape changing as possible because that is expensive.
So something that else that happens in Odo's quarters that we have to talk about is when Odo decides to introduce the Jem'Hadar kid to what the Jem'Hadar are by showing CCTV footage. And it's not just any CCTV footage from the Defiant. It is explicitly and specifically when Benjamin Sisko is housing all of the Jem'Hadar that are sent to subdue him over and over and over again.
Is full death row Sisko. Here's the real story in this, okay? This is an episode that boils down to, this is a Jem'Hadar. Mm-hmm. They are violent. They are the ultimate badasses. We are going to put him in a holodeck and we're going to let him fight. He's going to play Street Fighter. He's going to play Mortal Kombat because he's killing people. Mm-hmm. It's a 10-point scale. This child instantly jumps to level 5. That's the last time we're able to see him. He may have gone higher. Who knows? By the time Odo comes back. So a child that can just walk into level 5, what are the warriors at? Those warriors should all be fighting at level 10s. And I'm fist fighting 3 at a time. I'm sorry, Ben Sisko is fighting. Ben Sisko is the ultimate badass. This is Shang Tsung.
Could you like this Jemadar should see this and watch these guys get absolutely housed by Sisko and be like, is that a founder? Like, is he a god?
That's not a founder, that's a pounder.
He's making ours look like jumps.
Mm-hmm.
This is bad. You know, like maybe you're right, Odo. Maybe I shouldn't follow your directions. Maybe the Sisko guy he's got some more juice.
Yeah.
He's my alpha now.
They let him go.
Yeah.
And real shades of Borg here.
It's almost a sort of mirror image of it, in that Borg is a Borg drone that becomes a person, and the Enterprise is put in this position where Picard recognizes his sentient ability to make choices because he's been freed of the control of the hive mind, and because of his deep identification with his own experience with that, allows this guy to go, and Hugh becomes Hugh and does what he does ultimately in Trek. But in this case, it's a failure. Like, they couldn't break through the control, right? Like, the Jem'Hadar are so genetically engineered to be what they are. The Borg have a better ability to escape being what they are than they do. That's the message that's sent here. This is Star Trek, a show where you could be subsumed by a bunch of techno-zombies and turned into a techno-zombie, but be retrieved from that fate, provided we are able to use enough of our Federation super science to interdict it. Useless in the face of this. Cannot succeed. This kid is what he is. He cannot be broken out of the cycle, and he is going to be sent to become our enemy ultimately in the future.
I'll tell you another part of this cycle is Nechayev can't get a fucking break. All the losses
never going to have... Yeah, nothing. Just
all the losses the Borg represented. They had Hugh. They could have sent him back a poison pill. Picard fucked that up for her. Now you got an even arguably bigger threat with this Dominion. Here's our chance to finally understand some of the genetic makeup on these guys and maybe get a leg up in this dire. You're letting fucking cloaked vessels roll out of their gunships, Federation gunships. Here's our chance to really understand something, and you're going to let them run off back to home with more information on us. Like, I don't know, Nietzsche. You gotta put the fucking boot down or something. Like, this is ridiculous. Just a rampant insubordination. Not only did you not transfer this guy to the USS Hee Haw or whatever, Starbase 2, but also you let him go back and almost lost your Odo in the process. Let me read this for you real quick. I found it. Tell me, why was I... This is Odo and Debbie Dapopoulos. Odo, tell me, why was I sent away? Female, because even outside our solitude, we desired to learn more about the galaxy. You were one of 100 infants we sent off to gain that knowledge for us. Odo, but how could you be sure that we'd find our way back here? Female, you had no choice. The urge to return home was implanted in your genetic makeup, and now thanks to the passageway, you're the first to return to us. We weren't expecting you so soon. He has been genetically engineered.
Only to that extent, as far as we're aware, to return, which he then fulfilled.
Which, again, it is a foreign obligation placed on him. It's the exact same thing as these guys, where there are parts of him that are just out of control. And they don't really talk about it, but, like, does he ever reconcile that, like, I was not present for this fight? The Defiant got its ass kicked. We got boarded, and I not only did nothing to help, I actively ran away from a situation and left my friends to die, basically. Like, does he ever carry any shame for that, or do they just not address it? Because that would be a very compelling reason to hate your fucking race, is like, you guys built this shit into my DNA. Push came to shove, and I ignored these people I deeply care about.
I can kind of ignore it, unfortunately.
Well, same as Marta. I mean, you got too many other great stories to play. There's no reason to hang around. But
yeah, I think we're nitpicking to a degree, right? Like, acting in this is top notch. Like, even like the small stuff of just Sisko or O'Brien, like sitting like, Jake 16 dating a Dabo girl. Godspeed, Jake. Like, just every moment everyone has on camera, they're able to sell something. I think it has a lot to do with Avery Brooks being a theater guy and the way the direction is very theater, like a lot of close-ups in this episode, a lot of reverse shot in like between Kira and Odo, for example, in both of their big scenes. It just permits maximum dramatic potential because we're being very economical in how we're producing the episode and allowing that to be the focus, which that's Avery Brooks kind of with his priors as a theater guy. That's Star Trek at its best, when you're able to economize the story and permit the drama to unfold. And it harmonizes what should be two very disparate stories of Jake bagging an Alpha Quadrant 8 and Ben Sisko coming to terms with his maturing son, and Odo finding out that his people might be true monsters while he tries to mentor and father this thing that it was kind of created. He hoped to be a son-like figure, but turns out is nothing more than a soldier built to kill. This is really tough to pull off, and they really managed to do it, and in 45 minutes.
Well, speaking of things built to kill, Tarek Noor.
This one. Oh, goody. What is it?
Season 3, Episode 7, Civil Defense. Written by Mike Crone, directed by Rezel Badi. There's a picture. It's Gul Dukat looking smug. There's what I believe to be a replicator in either an exocomp or a phaser turret shooting stuff. Sisko, Jake, and O'Brien accidentally trigger an old Cardassian security system that believes the occupation's capitalized, by the way. Occupation is still going on, and the station has been taken over in a Bajoran workers' rebellion.
This is a fun episode. It is a funny episode. It is a Garrick episode. Ooh. It is a Gul Dukat episode.
Yes.
It is like an ice cream sundae of everything we like about Deep Space Nine.
If I'm not around if I don't remember to make the joke, but if I'm right, looking at this picture, and that is some sort of a phaser turret that has been replicated to shoot people, that will now be the second time that the replicators on DS9 have actively tried to kill the occupants.
It's true.
Maybe it's time to swap these bitches out, all right? Maybe it's time to get out the old hobo trash can plasma fires, and you can just cook food the old-fashioned way over burning industrial waste.